Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're taking a look at The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. A classic, for sure, by Stephen Covey.
Oh yeah, one of the all-time greats.
If you're looking to just kind of like up your effectiveness game, not just at work, but in like every area of life,
Yeah,
this is the deep dive for you.
for sure.
We're going to break down Covey's wisdom, see how it applies to all of us in the year 2024 and beyond.
I love how he doesn't just give you surface level tips, It's all about the deeper principles behind effectiveness. And he starts right at the beginning with how we see the world, those paradigms.
The paradigms, yeah, he used that optical illusion. Remember that one?
Yeah.
That famous one where you can see either the old woman or the young woman.
Oh yeah,
That's like the perfect way to illustrate this idea
it is.
that our paradigms, the lens through which we see the world, literally shape our reality.
Yeah, because you might see the young woman first, and then I see the old woman, and neither of us is wrong. But we're just operating from totally different perspectives, right? And this just highlights how much our preconceived notions really affect how we understand things, even if we don't realize it.
It really makes you think, how many times have I totally misjudged a situation?
Yeah.
Because of my own limited perspective. And Covey really emphasizes this, that recognizing and shifting those paradigms, it's crucial if we want to grow.
Absolutely. And that leads into this really key contrast that he draws between the character ethic and the personality ethic.
Oh, yeah.
And he argues that chasing those quick fixes, those outward techniques, that personality ethic, it just doesn't work in the long run.
It's so funny. He tells that story about trying to help his son in school. And he poured all this energy into motivational techniques and nothing changed.
Yeah.
I think a lot of parents can relate to that.
It's a trap we all fall into, I think.
Totally.
But what Covey realized was that it was really about focusing on his son's character, building up those core principles like integrity, honesty, hard work. And that had a way deeper impact than just going for those quick fixes.
Yeah. Totally. And that leads us to one of the most famous habits, be proactive. But he's not just saying get stuff done right.
No.
There's way more to it than that.
It's about understanding that we have the power to choose our response to any situation. He introduces this idea of your circle of concern, which is all the things that we worry about, versus our circle of influence, which is what we can actually change.
Right. And this is where he brings in Viktor Frankl.
Yeah.
Right? Who survived the Nazi concentration camps.
Yeah.
And even in that horrific situation, Frankl still found that he had the freedom to choose his attitude.
Powerful stuff.
It is incredibly powerful.
And it shows that proactivity is not about ignoring the hard stuff. It's about putting our energy into what we can control, recognizing that even when things seem impossible, we can choose our inner response.
I struggle with this all the time, I know I should focus on my circle of influence, but it's so easy to get caught up in worrying about things that I can't change. Do you have any tips for how to actually shift that balance?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that helps is to get really specific. What are the things in your circle of concern that are draining your energy? And then are there any that you could potentially shift into your circle of influence? Let's say you have a work project that's totally overwhelming you. Could you break it down into smaller steps?
Yeah.
That you can actually take control of?
That's a good point. It's about taking ownership, not playing the victim.
Yeah.
Saying okay, what can I do to improve this situation?
Exactly. And that mindset leads perfectly into habit 2, which is begin with the end in mind. Covey wants us to visualize our desired outcomes, to live our lives with purpose and direction.
It's like that saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
Yeah.
But Covey takes it even further. He says imagine you're attending your own funeral.
Whoa.
And think about what you would want people to say about your life, your character, your contributions.
Oh, wow.
It really makes you think about your values.
It does.
It does.
So it's about defining what truly matters to you, what legacy you want to leave. And that's where a personal mission statement can be so powerful.
Yeah, and Covey has some really practical tips for how to create one. He suggests we think about our key roles in life, parent, friend, professional, and then consider what we want to be known for in each area.
It helps us to align our daily actions with our bigger goals and values.
Absolutely.
Think of it like your personal constitution.
Yeah.
Your guiding document for making decisions.
Okay, so we've got paradigm's importance of character being proactive, starting with the end in mind. where do we go from here?
Well, Covey introduces this really interesting concept called the PPC balance.
Okay.
And it's a way of thinking about effectiveness that applies to like all areas of life. So P stands for producing the desired results. So basically what we want to achieve. And PC represents the capability that produces those results.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
Okay, so he uses the example of a restaurant owner who waters down his clam chowder to cut costs and increase profits in the short term. So sure, he might see a little boost, but what happens to the quality, the reputation, the loyalty of his customers over time?
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
He's neglecting the production capability,
Right.
right? In this case, the quality of his food and the trust of his customers.
Exactly.
Like he's killing the goose that lays the golden eggs.
Exactly, and Covey emphasizes that this principle applies to everything, from our relationships to our health to how we manage our time.
Yeah.
So it's about balancing those results with the capability to produce them, and that is key to understanding how all 7 habits work together.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because he lays out these 7 habits as this interconnected framework for personal and interpersonal effectiveness.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah.
Like how they build on each other and create this upward spiral of growth. For example, like being proactive allows us to define our goals and then prioritize effectively. And having a strong sense of personal mission enhances our ability to seek those win-win solutions.
Right, so just to recap, the 7 habits are: be proactive. Begin with the end in mind. Put first things first. Think win-win. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Synergize. And sharpen the saw. Each one is powerful on its own, but together they create this holistic approach to living a more effective and fulfilling life.
What I find so remarkable is that these habits are not just about personal success. They're about building stronger relationships, finding win-win solutions, continuously learning and growing, becoming the best versions of ourselves, both individually and in how we interact with others.
Yeah, before we move on to the next set of habits, I want to hear from you. What's resonating with you so far? Which of these principles is speaking to you the most right now and why? We'll dive into the remaining habits in just a moment.
Okay, so let's dive into habit 3. Put first things first. This is all about execution. You know, like actually turning those principles of proactivity and purpose into action.
So time management, but not just like cramming more into our day, right?
Right. It's about making sure we're focusing on what truly matters.
Yeah.
Covey argues that we often get caught up in urgency, you know, just reacting to whatever's screaming the loudest, instead of proactively planning based on our values.
He's got that idea about the 4 quadrants. Remember that?
Yeah.
Where tasks are categorized as urgent or not urgent and important or not important. And that quadrant 2, that's where the magic happens.
That's the sweet spot.
Right? It's the important but not urgent stuff, like planning, relationship, building personal development.
It's the quadrant of prevention, you know? Long-term thinking, investing in what really leads to lasting results and fulfillment.
But it's the one we neglect the most.
It is, because it doesn't have that like immediate sense of urgency.
I see that in my own life all the time. Like, it's so easy to let the urgent stuff just take over. How do we actually break free from that tyranny of the urgent and spend more time in quadrant 2?
Well, Covey recommends shifting from a time management to a priority management mindset. So instead of trying to cram more into our schedules, we need to identify our true priorities and then schedule them.
So don't just react, plan ahead.
Exactly.
He also talks about weekly planning, not just daily planning.
Yes.
So you can see the bigger picture.
Exactly.
And make sure you're making space for those quadrant 2 activities.
Right, because they're crucial, but they often get squeezed out.
Yeah.
It's about having a plan, but also being flexible, because life happens, right? Things come up, and sometimes we need to adjust our schedules to accommodate those higher priorities.
Totally. Okay, so now we're moving into the realm of interdependence. With habit 4, think win-win.
Yes.
It's about approaching our interactions with that abundance mentality, believing that there's enough success to go around.
Right, ditching that scarcity mindset, where it's like someone has to lose for someone else to win.
Win-lose.
Yeah, win-win is about collaboration, you know, finding solutions that benefit everyone involved.
It sounds great in theory, but like, how do we actually put this into practice, especially when we're dealing with people who are stuck in that win-lose mentality?
Yeah, it's tough, but Covey emphasizes building those strong relationships, creating a foundation of trust and mutual respect. He introduces this concept of the emotional bank account.
Oh, yeah?
Where every interaction is either a deposit or a withdrawal. Like, think about it when someone constantly breaks promises. It's like they're overdrafting your trust account, right?
That's a good analogy.
And if we're constantly making withdrawals by being disrespectful, not listening, not keeping commitments, well, eventually there's nothing left.
Right. But if we focus on making those deposits, showing kindness, understanding, keeping our word.
Yeah.
Then we build that reserve of trust and goodwill. That's essential for those win-win situations. So to create those win-win situations, we need that foundation of trust and understanding, which leads us to habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
One of my favorites.
Like to.
Covey says that most of us listen to reply not to truly understand.
It's so true.
We're so quick to jump in with our own opinions and experiences and advice that we miss what the other person is actually saying.
We're just waiting for our turn to talk.
Exactly.
Not really engaging with what the other person is sharing.
Right. And Covey advocates for empathic listening, putting aside our own agenda and trying to see the world from the other person's point of view.
So listening with our ears, eyes, and hearts.
Exactly.
So reflecting back what we hear. Not just the words, but also the feelings and the needs behind the words. Asking clarifying questions to make sure we're getting it right.
That's how we build true understanding.
This is such a crucial skill, not just for personal relationships, but for anything that involves collaboration or resolving conflicts. Imagine how much more effective our communication would be if we all practiced this.
It would be a game changer.
It would.
Because when people feel genuinely understood, they're more likely to open up, share their true thoughts and feelings, and be receptive to our perspective as well. It just paves the way for those win-win solutions we were talking about.
So habits 4 and 5, they lay the groundwork, creating that environment of trust and understanding. So how does habit 6, synergize, fit into all of this?
So synergy is all about creative cooperation. It's the idea that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's recognizing that different perspectives and ideas can combine to create something truly innovative and extraordinary.
Like 2 heads are better than 1, but on a much grander scale.
Exactly.
It's not about compromise either, right?
Well,
Where everyone gives up a little to reach some mediocre solution.
It's about leveraging each person's strengths and valuing those differences to create something new and better.
So instead of just averaging out our ideas, we're looking for that spark of innovation. That comes from combining them in unexpected ways.
Yes.
I love it.
Covey uses this analogy of a team pushing a stalled car. One person alone might not be able to move it. But if everyone pushes together, coordinating their efforts, they can easily get that car moving.
That makes so much sense. It's about recognizing that we can achieve something truly remarkable when we combine our diverse talents and perspectives.
Absolutely.
It's having that courage to be open, to listen, to challenge each other, and to create something new and better together.
And Covey shares some really fascinating examples of synergy in action. From business meetings where conflicting viewpoints lead to breakthroughs, to personal relationships where open communication and empathy deepen understanding and connection.
So we've covered 6 habits so far, all about personal and interpersonal effectiveness. So what's that final habit that ties everything together?
Habit 7 is sharpen the saw. It's all about renewal. Continuously investing in ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually so we can keep showing up as our best selves.
Yeah, it's like you can't pour from an empty cup, right? We need to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
To have the energy, the resilience, the capacity to actually implement all these other habits.
Renewal is not selfish. It's essential.
I love that.
And Covey breaks it down into 4 dimensions. Yeah. Physical, spiritual, mental, and social emotional.
So let's start with physical renewal. That's the most straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Taking care of our bodies, eating well, exercising, getting enough sleep.
Creating that physical foundation for sustained energy and well-being.
What about spiritual renewal? What does that look like?
Spiritual renewal is about connecting with your core values, your sense of purpose, something greater than yourself. It could be through meditation, prayer, spending time in nature, engaging in meaningful service. It's about nourishing your soul and reminding yourself of what truly matters.
What about mental renewal?
Mental renewal is all about keeping our minds sharp and engaged, learning new things, reading, challenging our assumptions, expanding our perspectives, staying curious, and making lifelong learning a priority.
And finally, social emotional renewal.
Social emotional renewal is about nurturing those relationships that bring us joy, support, and connection, investing in friendships, family, and our communities, creating that sense of belonging and interdependence that helps us through life's challenges.
I love how Covey highlights that renewal in any one of these dimensions. Strengthens our ability to live all the other habits.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
It is.
Taking care of ourselves makes us more proactive, more purpose-driven, more effective in our interactions with others.
It's a reminder that effectiveness isn't about one-time fixes.
It's an ongoing process.
It is.
A commitment to continuous improvement and a holistic approach to creating a fulfilling life. And speaking of continuous improvement...
You know, it's a great resource for that. Books.
Oh, yeah.
And there's this awesome channel called The Growth Reads that's dedicated to exploring these insightful reads.
I've heard of them.
Like Covey's book, they offer like key takeaways, thought-provoking discussions, actionable advice, all based on books that can make a real difference.
Sounds right up our alley.
It is. If you're enjoying our deep dive today, I highly recommend checking them out. The Growth Reads. For more insights on personal and professional development, you can find them at growththreads.com.
I'll check it out.
We've covered so much ground today, exploring the 7 habits from paradigms and proactivity to win-win solutions and synergy. It's been quite a journey through these timeless principles for effectiveness.
It really has.
What I find so interesting about Covey's work is that he really emphasizes that true effectiveness isn't about those quick fixes. It's about aligning our lives with these fundamental principles of human nature.
Yeah, he's not giving us a bunch of manipulative tricks or anything.
No.
He's challenging us to really look inward, to develop our character and live with purpose and integrity.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Absolutely. It's an inside-out approach, starting with ourselves, and then it ripples outward to our relationships, our work, our communities. It's a journey of continuous growth and renewal.
As we invest in ourselves, physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, we create this upward spiral, enhancing our ability to actually live all the other habits. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. We have the power to become more effective, to create more fulfilling lives, and to make a positive difference in the world, just by aligning ourselves with these principles.
It is empowering, isn't it?
It is.
We don't have to wait for external circumstances to change. We can start making changes from within.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. Covey says, true effectiveness isn't about quick fixes. It's about aligning our lives with timeless principles. What's one principle that really resonated with you today? Which one are you going to focus on this week?
Maybe it's being proactive, focusing on your circle of influence, or seeking first to understand, really listening with empathy. Or maybe it's synergy, remembering that incredible things can happen when we value our differences and we work together.
Whatever it is, embrace it and see how it transforms your life. That's it for our deep dive into the 7 habits of highly effective people. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to become the best version of yourself.
And don't forget to check out The Growth Reads for more inspiration on your personal development journey.
See you next time.